Indeed, we are. Our guest is seated. But yes, York, I mean, let's not even get started on airfares. I think that we need to call the attention of the FCCPC, Consumer Protection, to take a look at what is happening in that sector. It's holiday season. A lot of people, yes, students are currently writing their exams as we speak. And, it's a long holiday. So people want to make plans. Unfortunately, we do not still have, real linking most parts of Nigeria together. I mean, for instance, one would have thought that by now we should have a rail line linking Abuja and Lagos. But if you were to go and check the air prices now, you'd be asking, where are we going to precisely? How come, as you have said, I thought dollar was reducing against the Naira. The Naira was gaining ground. But let me not get ahead of myself. Our guest is currently seated, Mr. Laolu Akande, who is the anchor of Channels Television's Inside Sources, and also a former presidential aide, is seated right here with us. Thank you so much for coming to the program this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Mustapha. Good to see you.
I couldn't wait to get started on this very first issue, which is this question of who installed who that came out at the book launch of Mr. Garba Shehu. I want to imagine you were there yesterday. Were you able to make it?
Yes,
it was quite an interesting event and was very well attended.
Impressive
all of the dignitaries. Yes.
Yeah.
However, some controversial statements from the keynote speaker, former SGF of the Buhari administration. How did the hall feel when that statement came out?
Well, so I was sitting right beside Mr. Sunday Dare, the special advisor to the President of Communication, and Mr. Adebaye, the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Buhari. And the moment Boss Mustapha said that, he doesn't want to, he opened up and said that, well, I don't want to stir up a controversy.
So he knew it had the potential
exactly,
to be controversial.
And then he went ahead to say that. I just don't understand why that point is necessary at this time. And I've not been able to talk to Mr. Boss Mustapha afterward. It's completely unnecessary. The truth of the matter is that there was no way former President Muhammadu Buhari would have made it to the presidency without the significant support that he then had from the South. So, I don't really understand why, like I said, Boss Mustapha had to bring up the issue. It was completely unnecessary.
Yeah, because I'm looking at how the papers are reporting. It depends on which paper you look at. You look at The Nation, for instance, and they have a pretty tame take on it. It says, Tinubu's reforms building on Buhari's legacy. His picture is right there. It says, SGF finds nexus in two leaders' programs. So, as I said, depends on who you speak to. But Daily Trust is pulling up punches. It says, Tinubu didn't make Buhari president, Boss Mustapha. That's basically what he said. Wasn't that what he said?
Well, I'm not sure that he meant it that way, but that is how it turned out, because like I said, it was saying that I'm not trying to cause a stir here, which is why I said that, it's important for people to understand how what you say is going to be reported. I would be surprised if it goes about trying to take it back or try to make some clarification, because you cannot really justify the essence of that claim. Nobody can be president, whether it's Buhari or Tinubu, without some kind of a meeting together of minds, the handshake across the Niger, like they say. Yes, President Buhari has quite a bit of his support, the bigger chunk of his support from the North. But there was no way. He tried it in 2003, he tried it in 2007, he tried it in 2011. However big the numbers are from the North, it has always been insufficient without the support that you got from the South, which was what President Tinubu and his own people made happen, which was what the APC party made happen. So for Boss Mustapha to try to come and diminish that, I don't know what he's trying to do.
Well, talk about diminishing now. There's this issue of U.S. visa reciprocity, the time being allotted or given to Nigerians who apply for U.S. visa. It does appear that is diminishing too by the minute. Initially, Nigerians were getting 2 years, then later on, there was some controversy somewhere. I think it was made 1 year, then they reviewed it and increased it to 5 years if you've been to the U.S. before. And now they say, you know what, we're visiting this issue of reciprocity. You give us, how many months do you give us? So we give you 3 months, if, you know, that's what our citizens get. I understand that the Nigerian government seems to be pushing back, but this is the current reality that Nigerians will have to face who will be applying for the U.S. visa. What did you make of it?
Well, I think it's something that is, you know, quite a bit of a concern because the Americans are claiming that they have done this in reciprocating to what it is the Nigerian government had done. And the statement of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they didn't quite own up to that claim. So one is still trying to have some kind of clarity as to exactly what happened. The Americans will seem to say that, look, I mean, you guys withdrew this kind of you know, action. I mean, you reduce the numbers of the validity of the visa, and it was a one entry, and so we are also doing that back. So the Nigerian government, in its own reaction, did not really say that, you know, this was what happened. So we have to find out a bit more clarity. You try to actually interrogate the Foreign Affairs Ministry to tell us exactly, is it true, like the Americans are claiming, that they are reciprocating what we have done, you know, because I'm not very clear, you know, where the situation is. But the fact of the matter is that it's not serving the Nigerian people well, especially for people who have, you know, legitimate business, back and forth, family issues, back and forth, students, you know, a lot of who are used to the double entry, you know, and a longer validity of the visa. To now suddenly have to go back every 3 months, you know, it doesn't serve our people very well at all, you know. And I imagine that there are less Americans coming to Nigeria compared to Nigerians going to America. So it's something that the government should sit up to take a good look at. I think it's good that the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs quickly also issued a statement that they are reviewing the situation. But we want to know, is it true the claim that the Americans are making that this is just a reciprocal action from them, you know, responding to what we have done?
It's a big question, you know, which we will not know because we don't apply for Nigerian visas now, do we? But it'll be interesting to know because Nigeria too has also had quite a season, you know, with visas, trying to attract foreign direct investment, saying, oh, you know, we'll give you visa on entry, visa on arrival. Now we have e-visa, etc., etc. So when we measure reciprocity, should things like ease of even being able to get that visa, should it also matter? And then the amount of money paid, for instance, people know that to get an American visa, maybe because it's for 5 years, they don't mind how much they pay. But if they have to pay the same amount to get a 3-month visa, a number of people will say that certainly cannot be reciprocity.
Well, so reciprocity will mean that even the sum, the amount of money is almost the same.
It should be, right?
You know, that would be what would be reciprocal, you know. So now that's why I said that we need a little bit more clarity from the Nigerian government. They need to come forward, they need to come forward much to say that, look, this is exactly what happened. The insinuation out there is that during the past administration, that was when the 5-year validity and, you know, the double entry stuff was done from our side, and the Americans also kept the plan. The insinuation is that that was changed sometimes later, you know, and then the Americans gave observed that this is what had happened, waited a little bit of time for reciprocal, you know, to restore it. It wasn't restored, and they had to come out and say, well, look, if this is how you're going to do it, then this is how we're going to do it. So I think it behooves on the federal government to give us a little bit more clarity and try to sort this thing out, you know, in the interest of Nigerians.
Indeed. Let's quickly tie that to the president's bilateral visits now, and also, well, I say multilateral visits, because the visit to Brazil, much as it's got a bilateral tone, I think is also multilateral in dimension, given the fact that we're going to the BRICS.
Yeah.
And we're seeing what is happening with the extra tariff being slammed on BRICS nations. Well, people have asked whether it will affect us. I listened to the president's one of his aides the other day, who was saying that, well, you know, we are just observers. We're not yet exactly a BRIC nation. And I'm saying, come on. You were talking about partner the other day. Wouldn't we be affected by this extra, is it 1% or 10% tariff being slammed on the BRIC nations?
Well, I think that clearly the Americans are a bit panicky about what BRICS represents, especially with the Trump, emphasis on America first. And there are also undertones about what it is that BRICS people are trying to achieve in terms of trying to take away the dominance of the dollar and such other things. So clearly, there will be some undertones that, undercurrents about whether Nigeria is part of that or not. Now, Nigeria ought to be, in my view, we ought to be a substantial member of BRICS. It should actually be BRICS-N or BRICS, But we haven't conducted ourselves in such a way that we now have to be, coming on the periphery. Now, but what has to happen now is that we need to understand that we don't have, and this is very serious, Markwe, we don't have ambassadors. And for about 2 years of the Tinubu administration, Nigeria has no substantive ambassadors in the capitals. So a lot of things that we ought to be putting on the front burner will not get there because we don't have full ambassadors who are considered to be personal representatives of the president. We don't have an ambassador in Washington, D.C. We don't have even in Brazil.
Why is it taking so long?
It's curious. It's curious. This is the first time in a long time that in 2 years, someone's going to be 2 years now, but because I think they were withdrawn sometimes in November 2023. No ambassadors. Who does that? It's completely correct. There are no experts. They say, oh, there's no money, it's going to take a lot of money. Hey, I mean, we have a Minister for Foreign Affairs. Now we have 2 of them. It is incredible that they are not going to the president's office every day to sort this matter out. I mean, because why are you a foreign minister if you don't have ambassadors who are representatives of the president to get the job done properly? There are meetings that only ambassadors, the ranking ambassadors, that's what they call them, ambassador extraordinary plenipotentiary. They are seen as the president. There are meetings where only them can go to. If you have somebody who is an active head, they won't get into those most countries will not get. So it's not the time for not to. Look, Trump, we've got a deal with anybody who comes forward to call a deal. But we don't have an ambassador in Washington. This, if it is money, why don't you say, okay, look, let's identify some 10 important countries where we need to put some ambassadors, some of our neighbors, and then maybe AU, and then New York, London, Paris, Russia, and those places. But not to have substantive ambassadors going on to 2 years. I think Mr. President needs to really, really call his ministers of foreign affairs and sort this matter out.
Well, while we wait for that to happen, we saw something positive, I would say, happen during the week as well. While the U.S. might be reducing the time for visas in reciprocity, in the spirit of reciprocity.
Right.
The UK decided that I think about 3,000 items coming into their country, can come duty-free from Nigeria, and that is certainly something to cheer. What do you think will happen, given the fact that the UK has always been our traditional partners and allies in that regard? Do you see us being able to utilize this particular development, given just how we didn't quite, leverage the AGOA that was done by the United States?
Well, I think that, with the Brexit and the way it panned out, with the Brits, it was natural for them to open their borders to people who really want to do business with them, including Africans, and Nigeria is quite on top of that. So it's a good thing, and I think that Nigerians will take good advantage of it. There are places in London, I'm sure you probably know this, where you will think that you are in Nigeria in terms of what is served, even some of the produce, some of them open in the middle of the night. It's all there. So I think Nigerians are already attuned to this, to doing business and doing it properly at that level with the bridge. So I expect that this new policy is going to enlarge the space, and we're going to see an improvement of that going forward. It's a very good thing, and it can help even our foreign earnings, if we do it properly.
Should we be doing something locally, to leverage? Do you think that some ministries should be directly involved to leverage this?
So there will be several more opportunities for us to trade, even in things that we are not currently trading in. And I think that's the point. We got to sit down and see how we can maximize what it is, a good opportunity between us and the English people.
Well, Mr. Laolu Akande, there are so many more things I wanted to take you up on, but I guess that there will be time enough for that. We have to thank you for coming on this morning. Mr. Laolu Akande is a former presidential aide and also the anchor of Channels Television's Inside Sources. And I think the program will be airing tomorrow, right? Yes, indeed. So we're airing tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming once again. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we have another guest waiting in the wings, and this time around we'll be talking politics. Please don't miss it.